they kind of spent the whole race going 1-2 and ended up getting up the road together. So, and I spent the whole race trying to chase that back. But, it was actually quite a hard race, and it was pretty aggressive from even just the second lap. So it was actually, I think if you were there, really good to watch. But unfortunately, the live streaming only started when Amanda and Katrin were already up the road. So it made it look like as if maybe the race wasn't so exciting. But, I thought it was actually a really good race and a really hard race for a national championship. And that gave me a bit of confidence leading into the Tour Down Under. And my whole team, actually, LA Cipollini came down from Italy, and it was our first race together as a team, and we raced really well together. Like, we got a podium in every stage. The road races weren't raced as hard as what I thought they would be. I think maybe because there was so many big names that sometimes it felt like as if or maybe everyone was at a higher level, that it wasn't splitting up as much as I thought. And so really both the road races came to a group finish, except for the first day when Spratty and my teammate Yannicka got up the road. It was, LA Cipollini ended up with a podium on every stage. We won a stage, got second on GC, and came away with the sprint jersey and the KOM jersey. So I think it was a pretty good sign of how good we were riding together from the get-go. We've come to Cadel's and to the crit for tomorrow with some high expectations. But, everyone's getting along really well together and really racing well together. So, we're looking forward to this weekend.
And you were just saying to me there that the prize money's $80,000 for the crit?
8,000.
I thought it was 80.
But still, 80 would be amazing, but we're still pretty happy with 8. That's for the win. There's a lot of prize money up for the crit tomorrow, and it's a longer crit. It's about, it'll probably be about an hour 15, an hour 20. So, I think that suits Chloe at the moment because she's going so strong that a longer race for her, she probably has a better chance at the end. I think it's going to be a good little hard hit out tomorrow and then on to Cadel's.
And what's the vibe like in the team?
Yeah, really good. I think it's a big change for an Italian team to have such an international core as well. Because now here, 5 out of the 6 riders aren't Italian, and half the team now isn't Italian out of the whole team. And you can see, there is still, of course, that Italian base with all the staff. But we are all getting along well, and I think that has translated to racing well on the bike together and with the kit too. It makes it pretty easy to see each other in the peloton, and it might sound silly, but actually really does help. And there's so much black in the peloton now that we stand out, quite easily. So you always know where your teammates are, and it's easier to go get them if you need to.
Cool. Right. We'll take a look at the Cadel race. So out and back to Geelong, what is it, about 113 kilometres. Potential, if it's windy, for some tough conditions, but I've had a look at the weather. The wind doesn't seem too strong, so I think these are probably going to be okay. And then it really starts to heat up once you head back towards Geelong. Now, you rode the race in 2015. What are those climbs like near the end?
Yeah, I feel like Saturday's race is a lot about saving as much energy as you can in the first part of the race. And those that have saved and ridden smart in the first part are the ones that are going to be able to go with the really big moves in the second part of the race. And I feel like it's the last 15, 20 kilometres where all the damage is normally done. there's about 4 climbs in the last 15K, and the first one's a bit more dragging, but then the last 3 are really quite steep. And that's where a fit sprinter could possibly get over them. But if it's raced hard from the first climb or first rise, I feel like as if the sprinters aren't going to be able to get over that. And with Orica Scott going so strong, with Katrin and Spratty, they're not going to be wanting a sprint, but also they don't have a sprinter. So I think it's just like it's going to be quite aggressive and hard, and that's what we're anticipating. So I think everyone kind of does know the riders to watch. But yeah, it will be the last 15K that does all the damage, in my opinion.
And they can be beaten here. 2015, Rachel Nayland won before joining them, but it's going to be difficult. How do you go about beating Orica Scott?
The thing that we have is the fact that Chloe Hosking, like last year, actually came fourth, and she was there until almost the end, but just couldn't go with Spratty. So I think, I don't know, I'm hoping that no one else, like that Orica isn't listening to this. But what we were thinking was, like, we know that those are the moves that you have to cover, but to not help, like when you have covered it, to not help, because we'll have Chloe behind us. So if we work with them, then they've got more of a chance of winning it. But if we follow them, don't work, and then maybe try to sprint them at the end, not me, I would of course have to try it before, then at least it kind of puts the pressure on them to have to work, because if they don't, it's going to come back, and we have Chloe Hosking, which is one of the best sprinters in the world. So, yeah, definitely Yannicka and myself are going to have to be quite attentive on any attack that goes from Orica Scott, but in particular Katrin and Spratty. And yeah, there's a lot of strong riders here too, and you can't forget about Peter Mullins and riders that can get over those shorter climbs that can also sprint quite well. So yeah, I guess we'll see, but I think it's going to be quite a hard day. And when we rode it yesterday, it was actually still a bit windy. So yeah, the roads are just, the first part is along the coast, and 2 years ago there was a lot of echelon action around that time. But I think that, yeah, that could also be something that people might get caught out in the beginning if they're too relaxed.
And that's the thing about Orica with Gaffroot in particular. They've got somebody who is so strong. It doesn't have to be going uphill. It can be on the flat. It can be on the downhill. You've really got to be attentive all the time. I like the idea of just going with them and sitting on them. I think that's going to lead to some interesting conversations.
I feel like then those conversations are not going to be friendly. But no, I guess that's bike racing, and at the moment everyone knows that those girls are on fire, and also because they've been winning, you get that extra, you have the extra confidence, and so they're going to be wanting to continue that. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's bike racing and you have to be smart. So if you work with them, most likely, or especially for me, I'm not going to be able to beat them in a sprint. So you have to start thinking of how you can win the bike race, not just get up the road with them.
What other teams impressed you in the Tour Down Under?
Silence were riding pretty strong, and Wild was... the first day lasted a lot longer, lasted really the whole time on that climb. The reason how she came back was actually when 3.1k from the finish on the first day, I got a mechanical, and she had been dropped, but my team car had stopped for me. And then as I was getting back on the team car, she happened to be there, and I got back on in the sprint, but so did she. And she ended up getting third on GC. So I'm going to say, like, it's okay. I take full responsibility and credit. But luckily our teammate still got second. But, yeah, like, she was climbing still quite good. So silence, I think, would be quite strong. And also, actually, United Healthcare, I thought, like, on paper, they might not have sounded or looked like the strongest team, but they rode really well together and always capitalised on where they could get time bonuses or go with the move. So they were always represented and always kind of rode as a unit as well. So that was another team that I was quite impressed with at the Tour Down Under. And Katie Hall was climbing quite strong. So I think, she will be another one to watch.
And fantastic that we actually get to see this one live. We had the frustrating Tour Down Under where there was no live coverage. The Nationals, again, no live coverage. So I think everybody will be happy to see the race live. Does it give the riders an extra lift to know it's going to be live on TV?
It's always nice to know that, like, the whole race is being covered and, like, people will be watching it, and you want to kind of showcase women's cycling. And it happens so rare that our whole race is on TV that for us this is quite a big thing, and we are all excited. And I think, like, you just want to make the most of the opportunity where the public are watching it. And I think everyone wants it to be aggressive and wants everyone to see how women's cycling is now, because really women's cycling is exciting. It's aggressive. Our races are shorter, but it makes for more aggressive racing. And we don't have 100K at the start where an early break goes and then that comes back and then the real race begins. Our real race starts from the start. And, just the level of the women's peloton has improved so much the last couple of years that it's really changed. And hopefully, like, everyone that watches it on Saturday sees what we've seen and how much women's cycling has improved and how awesome it actually is. So it does make you want to lift or make you want to make sure it's a good race to watch. So I think it definitely will be aggressive and hopefully lift everyone to make it good for those watching at home.
And it does seem that year after year the quality of the teams over in Australia at this time of year seems to improve. It's good, I suppose, for the sport, but bad for the local riders who are struggling to contest. However, Lucy Kennedy did go really well in the Nationals. Is it good for cycling in Australia to have such a competitive field?
Yeah, like, for the women's Tour Down Under, our field was the best field that there's been in, like, the women's peloton in Australia for, like, I think it was the best field ever. So the thing is okay, then there wasn't as many local teams that got to race, but it still showcases the best of women's cycling, and it shows how big cycling in Australia is actually becoming when you have so many teams wanting to come to Australia to race it. And actually the Tour Down Under had to start saying no to some of the women's teams because there was too many at the end that wanted to be racing it. And I think it's a good sign for women's cycling in Australia and the future. And everyone was at such a high level at the Tour Down Under. And I think that actually makes the local Australians want to get better too. And they have a level where they can see where they're at, compare themselves and strive to get there. So I think like it was a good thing that there was so many big teams here at the moment. And yeah, I think also there's a lot of strong Australians coming up, like Lucy Kennedy. I'm sure that her national performance wasn't overlooked by some of the teams, and hopefully she does get a stint either this year or next year. But yeah, I guess it is hard when you're trying to break into the pro peloton and get a contract. And yeah, like the thing with having more big teams here does mean that there's less of the smaller teams here. But yeah, hopefully next year they kind of have more of a balance maybe and allow some smaller teams in. But I just don't think that the organiser thought that it was going to be as popular as what it was for this year.
Yeah, and I suppose the local riders who do perform well know that it's a real result. It's not because it's a lack of quality in the field. You know, Lucy Kennedy's third in the Nationals was an outstanding result, you know, against some, you know, international class riders. So I think it's a positive thing for the cycling. Yeah. Now, let's get to the stars. So, Cadel Evans race, we've talked about it, very difficult finale, potential for it to split up early. Orica have to be the dominant team, and we've gone for yourself with your one-star riders. You've gone for Katie Hall, Tiffany Cromwell and Kirsten Wild. Go on then, explain.
Yeah, well, I was pretty impressed with United Healthcare, like I said, at the Tour Down Under. And so I think Katie Hall, she was climbing well, and she's one that I think was racing smart. And if she can be in good position in the last 15, 20 kilometres, then she's someone that could potentially make that move. I don't know how good she is at sprinting, but I was impressed with her, so that's the reason why I gave her 1 star. Tiffany Cromwell, she's a racer. She's always aggressive, and she's really smart. So even though maybe her form isn't the best at this time of the year because she's concentrating for the European season, I still think that she's one to watch. And also, like I said, with Wild, she was climbing, I thought, quite well. So if it's not raced super hard, she could potentially stay there, and maybe it's a bigger group than what it has in the past. And if she's there at the finish, then of course she's going to be on the podium, I think.
I've gone for, I agree with Tiffany Cromwell, just consistent, oozes class. I've thrown in Petter Mullins, who there was a lot of talk before Nationals that she was in tremendous form and it didn't work for her. Same with the Tour Down Under. But as you know, she's a quality rider, and hopefully her form is just around the corner. And also I've put Lucy Kennedy in there after her bronze medal at Nationals. 2 stars, you have Alexis Ryan, Amanda Spratt and Chloe Hosking. So Amanda Spratt, 2 stars.
Yeah, I couldn't have too many Orica Scott with 3-star riders, so I had to disperse them a little bit. But I think after her winning the Tour Down Under, these climbs are a little bit shorter, and Catherine's going so strong. So I think actually Spratty might be the bridesmaid, and Catherine will be the leader for Saturday. So that's why I gave her 2 stars. And yeah, Chloe Hosking I think is going really strong at the moment. And if it kind of isn't raced super hard, then she can potentially get over those climbs. And after a hard race, she's one of the strongest sprinters. So that's another reason why I gave Chloe 2 stars. And Alexis Ryan really impressed me at the Tour Down Under. She was climbing quite well and sprinting really well, and being able to get time bonuses to move her into the young rider jersey. And yeah, I think she lives in Girona, where I live, and She's a smart bike racer, and she's obviously come to Australia with form. So I think Kang and Stram are going to be wanting to get a result this weekend, and it's going to be, I think, with her.
I've gone for Custom Wild. I've put her up to 2 stars. I think with the cancellation of the Qatar tour, I just think that she's put more of an emphasis on this race compared to what she might have done last season. As you mentioned, she was looking really good in Tour Down Under, probably climbing better than I've ever seen her. And I've stolen a couple of your 3-star picks and put them in my 2-star section. I've got Danny King of Silence, just very consistent. Interesting that she's been over in Australia for, I think it must be about a month now. So she is well accustomed to the local conditions. And then I've gone for your teammate Yankee Enzing, who was impressive in the Tour Down Under. And as you've mentioned, if the tactic is just to go and sit on some of the Orica riders, it could very well present yourself and any one of your teammates with an opportunity if you get away in a 2-man group. But as you've already said, you would have to try and attack from further out.
Definitely not attacking with 250 metres to go. Not what I'm going to wait for.
Just do a Gaviria and attack with 750 to go, it's fine. 3-star riders, you've gone for Garfoot, King and Ensing. So, talk about your teammate.
Yeah, Yannicka, for me, was crazy impressive at the Tour Down Under. I mean, the first, she was there for one day before the tour started, and that one day she was walking around having breakfast at dinner, having breakfast at lunch, not really knowing what time it was, and you could tell that they were all not used to the massive time change and the massive flight. And in the race, we'd said that the 3 that had just flown from Europe probably won't feel that good today, just to relax. And then she was there with me on the climb, and she was like, okay, I'll cover the next, and just went with it, and then ended up getting second. And I think normally after an international flight, I know how I feel. So now she's actually accustomed to being in Australia a bit. She's not jet lagged anymore, and we've raced a lot against each other in the past. She's had some pretty good results in Europe, but is a rider that's always goes under the radar a little bit. So, I think her being in LA Cipollini this year is going to give her a lot more opportunities, and I think you're going to see a lot more of her and a lot more of her on the podium. But she's a speed skater as well. So I think she got second recently at the national championships. But the explosive type of climb suit her a lot, and I think that's why here this course suits her better, and that's why I gave her 3 stars, because I know she's not jet lagged, and I think this course is actually more for her. And then Danny King, she has been in Australia for quite a while, and she did well here last year, and she came here earlier, so I feel like she's going to want to kind of make the most of that. And it means when you come here earlier, you know that they must be serious about the races. So, I think she was riding well at the Tour Down Under, but having Wild, then they were going for stages as well, and the sprints and the time bonuses. So here, if the move goes, you can't wait. You have to go with it. You can't hope that your sprinters going to stay there. You have to just go with Katrin or Spratty or whoever it may be. But my other 3-star rider is Katrin, because I think really she's the strongest rider at the moment, and definitely the one to watch.
I've gone for Sprat and Garfoot. I think they kind of picked themselves, really, to be honest. After the last couple of weeks have been ridiculously strong. Garfoot doubling up at Nationals was impressive. And I've gone for your teammate. I'm going for Chloe Hoskin. The fact that she won the Tour Down Under stage which was very challenging with a good bit of climbing in it. I think she looks like she's climbing better than ever. She was even struggling her way around the Nationals course when you were further up the road, obviously. But she kind of put in a good effort there. She seems motivated. And as you say, it could be a bit of a slower race. As you know, we just don't know what we're going to get until the day. And if it does come back together for a smallish sprint, she's blindingly fast just now. So, I like the look of how she's going. Right, money where your mouth is. Pick a winner.
I'm gonna go Katrin.
Right, that's so boring. I'm going to go Chloe Hoskin. I'm going to show some faith in your teammates.
Damn.
You're going to be.
I look like the bad one.
You're going to be in trouble now. That's it. Right. So you've been in Australia for a while now. What's next? When are you heading back to Europe?
Yeah, well, I've actually got my last university exam in a week and 2 days. So as soon as I finish Cadel's, I actually go back home and finish my degree. And then I stay in Australia a little bit longer this year because, we're not having a camp in February because we kind of had a training camp in Adelaide. So, I'll go back at the end of Feb. Around the 20th, and then start with the Spring Classics, the Newsblad or Hageland, one of the two. But, my real first focus will be Strade Bianchi the weekend after. So, it's kind of nice to get and spend some time in Australia. I came home a bit later at the end of November, start of December. So this period is nice to still spend at home, and it's always a little bit stressful leading into nationals because it's nationals. Some people say they don't want to focus on it, but really nationals is important every year for everyone. Everyone really does want the jersey, the prestige that comes with it. So after nationals, it's always nice to just relax a little bit. I kind of leave a little bit later, and the girls, now with no Tour of Qatar, they also start at the same time in the first Spring Classics on the 28th of Feb. So, and then the season starts and it all flies by and another year goes.
One of the things it's been mentioned fairly recently is obviously the Australians did so well at the Tour Down Under. It's potential burnout. Now, as an athlete, as a cyclist, how do you manage the next couple of months? Because obviously you've started fast because, as you said, nationals is always a target. Then you had your home race. So obviously you're at a fairly high level just now. How do you manage that over the next couple of months so that you don't kind of crash?
Yeah, it is really hard, and I think you do learn from your mistakes because when you are going strong at nationals, it's easy to want to keep going and want to just get better and keep pushing it so you're even stronger. But you do need a bit of a break, and mentally we start doing so many efforts so early compared to the Euros that what you kind of do is February, the beginning of February, and for the first, really at least for 2 or 3 weeks, is just to ride your bike a little bit. You try to come a bit down and then bring yourself up for the Spring Classics that you're focusing on. So for me, because the first weekend's not really one of my focuses, I'll try to have just a bit of a break from efforts after Cadel's, and then once I get to Europe, then start doing more race-specific stuff, and probably use the first Spring Classic as just more of an opener and blow out all the cobwebs, and then hopefully that brings me up for later in the Spring Classics. When you don't have a break, you just burn out and you get to halfway through the year and you're just buckled. And it's happened before when, like, the national champion has kept going, and it's easy to do, but you can't go from January all the way to September. It's impossible. And Katrin, she actually didn't have a break after the World Championships. So she was a bit she got a bit sick just before Rio, and then decided that after Worlds she didn't want to have a break then. So she's going so strong now because she didn't have the break, but she's going to need to have a break at one point because your body just can't do it. So you do have to have more February, a bit more relaxed. And I think that's going to help a lot of the girls now to do that because there's no Tour of Qatar.
And you mentioned Strada, obviously riding for Ali Cipollini, an Italian team. The Italian races are going to hold, much significance for you this year. Strada's a fairly amazing race. I suppose Strada and some stages in the Giro would potentially be big targets for you and the team.
Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of Italian races on my program that are the ones I'm focusing on because, the Italian races are the ones that are important for the team and for sponsors. But in the start of the year, Strada Bianchi, Flesh Wallone, and Chichiglio World Cup, or the Binder. And so that's also another Hilly World Cup in Italy. And then, you get into the Tour races, and of course the Giro is a big focus for the team, and hopefully, they want to take some hill climbers for that too, because we do have a lot of strong sprinters in the team, and it depends if they're going for all stage wins and no GC focus, or if they try to do a bit of both. So, definitely though, the Italian races in the first part of the year are going to be my focus.
Can't wait for Strada. That's all I can say. Right, okay, that's a wrap. So, Cadel Evans Road Race, you've gone for Katrin Garfoot. I'm on Chloe Hoskin. Shame on you. And I just have to say thank you very much for taking time out in an Australian morning to spend some time with us. Thank you very much, Carlee, and best of luck in the race.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
No problem. I'll have you back for Strada.